Actually, we expect that Magna will face a number of challenges in China because the big four clients in North American and European market whose performance in China are so-so, I have to say, except General Motors. So as a later comer, your lack of competitive in terms of local talents and local supply base and understanding of the Chinese market as well. So what's Magna's competitive strategy to make you become a leader in this market?
I think you've already hit it, a few points there. I think the key for us is we believe the key to our success going forward will be our ability to hire, to recruit, and to develop good local Chinese talent here. As with any company, we need a mix initially of some foreign influence and technology and so on, but we also need to then develop our local talent. So we probably put a very high priority right now in our company to go out and make sure that we find the best people and that we train them here in China and we develop the talent pool here. I have every confidence, and from my experience in dealing with the Chinese engineers and the people managers that are here, they are all very hardworking, learn very quickly. And I believe that by tapping into that talent pool and being able to gain that expertise with them and grow with them, that we're going to be able to meet the challenges that will be here in China over the next little while. I think that's the key things that we're really working on. I mean, obviously, we're going to continue to work on our engineering and developing products here that are more suited to the local industry here and the local market here. But again, overall, I think the key, most important, it will be our human resources.
But what about the Chinese local supply base? I mean, if you product is competitive in China market, it means cost should be considered the first fact. So how to control your cost? You should have a very strong Chinese supply base.
Yes, absolutely. Our probably the largest part of our company here, other than obviously the manufacturing, is the procurement, the purchasing, sourcing, and the supplier development. I think that it's never easy to work with Chinese suppliers. There's different expectations that they're used to, and we're actually working with them very closely to develop them. We understand that to be competitive cost-wise, we're going to use more and more suppliers, but we also need to maintain the highest quality for our customers. So it's always a balance between the two, of working with them and to develop them. But I can say proudly that if you go to any of our facilities, majority of all of our components, assembly equipment, and people are all procured locally here. So we've already done a very high level of localization in China. And that will continue to be our goal going forward, is to localize to the local suppliers.
Okay.
I'd just like to add that it is not only a challenge, it is also an opportunity. The OEMs in particular don't have the resources to manage the Tier 2s, the Tier 3s, the Tier 4s. So one of the opportunities that is created by having a young auto industry here and a young supplier base is that we can step in and solve that problem for our customers as well. We will take on the responsibility of managing those sub-suppliers so that they don't have to.
Okay. We mentioned the local supply base. Actually, it's an imperative, I think, for global Tier 1 suppliers to source in China in order to improve its competitive edge. So as far as we understand, Magna achieved significant in China sourcing. So would you please introduce your progress of China sourcing and your main achievement?
I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think one of the key things that we've done is to develop immediately the sourcing. We believe that if you follow the value chain of what we produce, the first thing you have to do is you have to find the right suppliers. And there's always a wide range of suppliers, and we've always needed to go and determine the right category. Certain parts we will need more mature suppliers. Certain parts we can develop the suppliers.
Yeah.
And then so one of the key objectives that we have done is, again, as I mentioned also with people, is to develop the sourcing office and the local talent pool. We need we have a lot of suppliers. Last year we had a supplier conference here, and overall close to 200 suppliers attended our supplier conference here. Now, to manage such a large supply base, we need a lot of people to deal with them, to work with them. Now, in a little more mature market like North America, you can just give it to a supplier. They know what to do. You've worked with them for 20, 30 years. But in China, we have to hold their hand a little bit more to guide them a little more closely. So we have developed close to 80 to 100 people in our sourcing activity here, primarily looking at commercial terms, as well as a lot of supplier development, making sure that they understand our requirements, and that we also work with them to better understand and increase their capabilities. So that's, it's a big investment on Magna's part.
Yeah.
We don't believe you just come here and just throw money down and automatically you'll get everything. We truly believe you have to put effort. Nothing is easy. Put a lot of effort into working with the supply base and to develop them. And I think that's part of the main reason why we've had some good success over the last little while on developing our sourcing activity here.
Yeah. Okay. So according to Magna's experience, you have mentioned this term. But what are the main challenges for global buyers to source in China now? Maybe you can share some experience.
I think people always think about language as a big problem.
Yeah.
In fact, I find that the language in itself, the pure language itself, is not the issue. It's the understanding behind the language. When one of the issues, differences in expectations. When our global type companies, when we come and say we need to meet a certain deadline, we mean a certain deadline, everything 100% finished.
Yeah.
When maybe our local supplier thinks the deadline means he gets 80% of it done, it's pretty close, but it's not good enough.
Yeah.
So the difference in expectation is a big challenge. Also, there are certain cost models that are a challenge for us. As you know, in other regions of the world, it's a much more mature market. So we can expect that time and time again, costing levels will stay the same. But here in China, as they're developing, we find that there are fluctuations, we have to manage those fluctuations, unexpected fluctuations in cost, in different things. So the other one is also trying to balance, where do we want our suppliers to be? Do they all have to be along the coastal area that are more mature? At what point do we want to go more inland to some of the newer, less developed suppliers? So these are all things that we're working on in terms of challenge, the biggest challenges that we have. Again, bringing the quality and the understanding of the expectation of quality is very important, and also working with them to develop more and newer suppliers is a big challenge for us constantly. As we grow here, even 200 suppliers is not enough.
Yeah.
We constantly need to find more and more. So that's a big challenge for us.